Alright everyone, I'm about to show you how to get thick, fat, juicy vocals with parallel compression. Now if you don't know what parallel compression is, it's essentially just the mixture of a dry and wet signal in order to make a bigger, bolder sounding vocal. That is essentially what it is. I'm about to show you how to do it. So for our drier signal over here, we're gonna place this on the vocal bus, and for the drier type signal for the compression, it's going to be a very basic compressor, very normal, very minimal. For instance, on this compressor, the ratio is like 3:1. I only did about 10 decibels of gain reduction on this compressor. For those with normal type compressors with all the normal types of adjustments at home, all you really need to do, 15 millisecond attack time, somewhere around a 200 millisecond release time, 3:1 ratio, and just try to go minimal for the threshold. So now that we've gotten the dry part out of the way, the next thing to do is come over here and create the wet part of this whole parallel compression thing. In order to create our wet track, we need to actually make a whole separate copy of our vocals. Let's go ahead and do just that. How I create separate copies of my vocals inside FL Studio is coming up here to this square, select all these tracks. Next thing you want to do, come over here to the mixer, open up the mixer and mute all your special effect plugins that you don't need. The only thing that we will not be muting is all of the frequency balance and compression plugins. So in this case, de-essers, compressors, and equalizers will stay on. Everything else needs to get turned off. Turning all this stuff off, go to the background bus, turn everything in the background bus off as well. Now what we need to do, since we have everything muted, we can finally make a copy of all these tracks right here and make it into one consolidated track. That's what we're doing here. So how we're going to do that is just by hitting Command Option C, and that brings me to this little button right here, this little screen right here. All I have to do is press start. It's going to create a separate render. That's pretty much all of these tracks that we have right here for our vocal takes. It's just going to be consolidated into one track so we can use that to our advantage. So now we have a consolidated version of all of our vocal takes down here. Let's go ahead and get this taken care of. This is where the wetness of our parallel compression mix will come from. So first thing we need to do is route this consolidated render to a separate insert away from the background bus or the vocal bus. It needs to be in its own separate insert. Let's do just that. First, I need to figure out what inserts are empty. That's 42. This is 43, 44. So insert 44 is now going to be our parallel comp track. So I'm going to name it. So now insert 44 is our parallel comp track. What we want to do is come over here, click this. We're going to place this on insert 44. Now that's placed on insert 44. Let's clean up this track. So the first thing I like to do before anything is add a nice EQ. The reason why I like to go ahead and add an EQ is mainly so I can get control of my low end and anything in the high end that may be seeping out that can turn this whole parallel compression mix into just a big mess. So let's go ahead and get control of these frequencies really quick. 125. What I'm going to do over here on this high end is just take it out by a very little bit, nothing too crazy. I don't want to take too much of the high end out to the point where it starts to sound bad. So I took out the high end by about 2.5 decibels. That should be okay. Next thing we want to do is come over here to the compression. So now I have this compressor opened up on my parallel comp track. What I'm going to do is just come over here, compress everything, get everything to sound good. And then after that, I'm going to add a de-esser on there. And then we're just going to blend this down into the mix and get everything to sound juicy and bold. So I just finished doing the compression for this wet track right here. Keep in mind that when we're doing this specific type of compressor, make sure that you have a nice high ratio, high attack, medium release. You also want to make sure you're really just squashing everything. You want to make sure you're squashing the transients, because you have to remember we're using this wetness to kind of complement what we already have from our dryness. We're just going to blend this in together with what we already have in our dry track. So we want to make sure that we're not going too light on this compressor. We definitely want to make sure we're slamming it and compressing it and making sure that we're getting everything that we need out of this compressor. So after we finish doing this compressor, it's going to sound kind of crazy. Let me show you how it sounds like right now with what I've just done.
Hush and breathe. I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. And the person I'm becoming, I just can't believe. But I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run don't run from me.
So let's go ahead and get control of that sibilance with a nice de-esser. All you want to do with this de-esser, make sure we're at the right frequency. Mine is at about 57. Make sure that we're not getting any sibilance whatsoever. So I'm gonna do kind of high on my threshold over here.
Hush and breathe. I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. And the person I'm becoming, I just can't believe. But I don't ever want to make.
That sounds fine. Now, next thing I like to do, come back over here, one last EQ. I'm over here with this last EQ. I'm gonna do a lot of the same things. Really just make sure I have control over the frequencies in this wet track. Make sure I have absolute control over these frequencies. Alright everyone, now that we got the equalizer out of the way, last thing to do is come over here and route it to the vocal bus so we can ensure that our parallel compression track is getting the same treatment as our lead vocals. We need to come over here as well and unmute all of our tracks that we muted earlier. Alright everyone, so the last thing to do is turn down our parallel comp track in the mix to make sure that we can get it to fit in nicely with our dry signal.
Hush and breathe. I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. And the person I'm becoming, I just can't believe. But I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run. Hush and breathe. I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. And the person I'm becoming, I just can't believe. But I don't ever want to make you feel like.
So yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, what I've actually done here, I actually, in this consolidated track up here for my wet compression, I actually put my background vocals in there as well. So now whenever I turn this down in the mix, my background vocals are a bit louder. They don't sit behind my vocals the way they're actually supposed to. So make sure you don't do that whenever you're doing this in your mixes. Make sure you only get the lead vocals or whatever are the main vocals in your mix in this consolidated track for parallel compression, so this doesn't happen. But anyways, let me show you how everything sounds with the beat.
Hush and breathe. I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. And the person I'm becoming, I just can't believe. But I don't ever want to make you feel like you should run from me. Don't run from me.
But alright everyone, that is how I use parallel compression to get big and juicy vocals. Now if you're a beginner wondering how to mix your vocals with strictly stock VSTs inside FL Studio, hit the link in my description and I'll give you a detailed step-by-step guide on how to do just that. But alright everyone, I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. I'll catch you all in the next one.